Chapter 59, Meeting 4, It's because of Nayland Dyer. Finally, it was Zhao Yang who broke the silence. He had mustered up enough courage to tell the truth. Everybody knew that Nayland Dyer was in this state because of phone ruching. But they still wanted to help the people who were hurt by her. It was like a blow to her. Everyone present was shocked as they looked at Zhao Yang. The general has gone to war for so many years. He still refuses to retire from the battlefield. Empress Nayland had sworn to protect our country till death. Luyun Kingdom is so peaceful now, and it is because of them. We cannot allow Nayland Dyer to be in this state for the rest of her life. But still, nothing could be done to save her reputation even after the examination by the imperial physician under Feng Tianyu's order. Dyer was mentally challenged and she should not be left with that kind of reputation for the rest of her life. Feng Ruching was taken aback by this remark. There was a warmth lingering in her heart. She never would have guessed that these people would discuss medical skills just for Nayland Dyer's sake. But, how did you come to allocate these herbs? Zhao Yang glanced at Feng Ruching and said, It was Princess Rushuang who has helped us allocate these herbs, and the herbs were all suggested by her. If not her, who has assembled us for this kind of meeting, we would never have thought of using this kind of way to help Dyer. Princess Rushuang is a good person and I beg you to let her go. Princess Rushuang told them about the herbs after asking the imperial physician about them. If not, they would not be so daring as to do this. They were planning to surprise the Nayland family, and that was why the imperial physician was not involved the whole time. The whole process was done with Princess Rushuang as the intermediary. But there seemed to be something missing in the herbs. That was why the herbs were inefficient, and there were several incidents of allergic reaction too. Feng Rushuang. Feng Ruching narrowed her eyes. Previously, Dyer was burned nastily and Feng Rushuang was also one of the perpetrators. However, foolish Feng Ruching received all the blame for this incident. Even if the general manor knew of other perpetrators, other people still had no clue about it. After Feng Ruching admitted that it was her sole responsibility, no one from General Manor could take revenge on Feng Rushuang. Furthermore, noble consort Rong now had a bad reputation because of cheating the iron-blooded token off of her. Everyone had a good impression of Feng Rushuang to the point where these people had also believed that Feng Rushuang was so kind as to help Nayland Dyer. That woman. It would be so good if she did not harm Dyer. Now, she is being kind to her. Zhao Yang. Lin Yueying tugged at Zhao Yang's sleeve immediately. She quickly looked up at Feng Ruching. Your Highness, Zhao Yang means well. If he had spoken wrongly, please forgive him. Feng Ruching's brows relaxed. She smiled lightly and asked, Do you know about cedar truffle? Cedar truffle was a type of truffle. But this truffle looked just like a snowflake, and that was why it was called cedar truffle. It only grew in the Arctic lands. But one could still buy them in regular herb shops. You can ask Paramount to use cedar truffle in stewed pork feet combined with fennel, truffle, and bitter ginseng. It should be stewed for 2 hours. After this, let her try and see if it works. This herbal dish was actually modified from a spirit herbs dish. It was because of the significant effect of spirit herbs. Her scars would disappear if only she had one of these. Similarly, the spirit truffle, a grade 3 spirit herb, was needed. Similarly, the scars could be removed slowly even with the help of other spirit herbs. The spiritual qi which existed in any spirit herb could help repair some damages done on the bodies. But the effect was extremely slow and it needed to be taken for a long time. Of course, a regular herbal dish was slow in producing an effect, but the effect would be much more significant if it was taken for a long period of time. If it were taken for 3 consecutive days, the change would be apparent. It would take more than half a year for the scars to fade completely. This was the difference between spirit herbs and regular herbs. A very long time and a rich supply of spiritual chi were needed for ordinary herbs to grow into spirit herbs. It could only be done with what genius skills which Feng-Ruching had. If not, it would be too difficult. Chapter 60, Brewing Spirit Wine. The facial expressions of Zhang Yang and the others shifted slightly. Was Feng-Ruching really helping them sincerely? She might use this prescription to harm Nayland Dyer. Feng-Ruching left after saying this. The people stared blankly in the direction where she had taken her leave. I feel that Feng-Ruching is slightly different now, Mu Qing'er frowned and whispered softly. For they knew that Feng-Ruching would surely burst into anger when she overheard their gossips. But why was she so calm today? Everyone fell silent. All the people present were young masters and young mistresses that have encountered Feng-Ruching. They knew exactly what this villain was like before. However, it seemed that Feng-Ruching's perversion now had disappeared and they did not hate her as much as before. Should we try the solution Feng-Ruching suggested? Lin Yueying hesitated for a while before asking them. Zhao Yang shook his head and said, even if she has changed, she is still the old her who was bad in academics and martial arts. It's impossible that she could cure Nayland Dyer. It'll be better if we rely on Feng-Ruching. Feng-Ruching did so many evil deeds before. He still could not believe her for now. Feng-Ruching, who had been nice all the while, was much reliable compared to Feng-Ruching. Feng-Ruching returned to the Princess Manor after leaving Paramount. The spirit herbs which she had planted before were quite mature now. She could use those herbs to brew spirit wine. After completing the task of brewing the spirit wine, she put the wine in the cellar. She wiped the sweat on her forehead and smiled brightly. The spirit wine will be ready in almost half a month. I'll have an excuse to visit the general manor by then. She sighed after remembering what an awful mess the previous owner had left for her. Luckily, the state preceptor did not have any bad impression on her. If not, she would not be able to enter the southern bamboo grove. It would be impossible to sleep with him then. By the way, I should be grateful for Noble Consort Rong. If Noble Consort Rong did not threaten the original Feng-Ruching, she would not have lowered her head and walked away when she saw the state preceptor. If she took favor upon the state preceptor after looking at his beautiful face, she would no doubt prey on him like hungry wolves preying on food. Feng-Ruching's eyes narrowed as she thought that she really should thank her when it was time. But the state preceptor had left for so many days and the day of his return is unknown. She missed the state preceptor so much. But what could she do? Feng-Ruching's eyes lit up. Suddenly, her lips raised in a smile and as she touched her chin. I can still go and chat with the little snake even if I cannot meet the state preceptor. I have not entered the palace for several days and the state preceptor is not in southern bamboo grove either. The little snake must feel bored and it must be missing me too. Southern bamboo grove. Something unknown was seen. It was the azure snake which was taking a bath in the lake sneezed uncontrollably. It felt that there was a chill down its spine and it seemed that someone was talking about it. When the azure snake was in doubt, a huge silhouette suddenly appeared in front of it. It was so startled that it nearly jumped out of the lake and its eyes were filled with fear. Why is this woman here? Help! The azure snake was so frightened that it wanted to dive into the ground and never come out again. But the ground was so tough. It tried to dive in but it could not after several tries. Little snake, I realized for the first time that you're so excited to meet me that you hit your head on the ground. Excited? Never. The azure snake's body shook uncontrollably. It almost burst into tears out of fright. Chapter 61, Brewing Spirit Wine 2 Master, please come back quickly and take me away. Feng-Ruching approached Qing Zhu with a sly smile. Little snaky, I know you have missed me but you don't have to act like this. Look, I have come here to see you, haven't I? Although the maiden was smiling, it did not appear so in Qingzhu's eyes. To him, she seemed to be looking at a steaming plate of food. At this moment, Feng Ruqing's stomach rumbled loudly. She rubbed her stomach subconsciously and sighed. I have been eating excessively these past few years. However, suddenly abstaining myself from eating meat and cutting down on rice has made me feel hungry now. Qingzhu shrieked and immediately slithered up a tree. It shivered while it hid among the lush green leaves. As what he had expected, the woman was hungry. That was why she was coming after him. She wanted to eat him. Feng Ruqing was in a daze. She had been nice and kind just now. Why was Qingzhu terrified of her, like he had just seen a man-eating devil? Was she that scary? Qingzhu, come down please. Let's have a chat, Feng Ruqing said, frowning. Qingzhu replied in a trembling voice, no, I won't go down. Come up if you can. Feng Ruqing looked at her own obese body and then glanced at the giant tree. Her face darkened. You come down here. No, I refuse to go down. I refuse to leave this tree. It would rather die on this tree than face the terrifying human being. Feng Ruqing winked. I brought you some snacks. No. The azure snake rejected it firmly. I would rather die on this tree than leave here just for some snacks. Princess, you can just give it up. Oh, really? Feng Ruqing squinted and smirked. Then, I'll tell the state preceptor that you've bullied me once he returns. Qingzhu was totally dumbfounded. This human, how could she be so shameless? If its master believed her words, then, it would end up as snake soup for real. How could you be this outrageous? Qingzhu cried, feeling aggrieved. This bastard was too intimidating for a snake, come down now. Feng Ruqing requested again. Qingzhu looked at Feng Ruqing with extreme fear, but finally it gave up and slithered down the tree slowly until it was before Feng Ruqing. Snake soup is not delicious at all. Moreover, I am venomous. Qingzhu did not dare to get too close to Feng Ruqing, but it still wanted to reassure her. Feng Ruqing grinned mischievously and said, it's all right. I have my own way to neutralize the venom. Moreover, snake soup is a very good tonic as my father's health supplement. Qingzhu's heart almost stopped beating. As expected, this human still insisted on eating the snake. I am getting older, my meat is old and chewy. So, it isn't good for digestion. Not a good idea. Never mind, my father's teeth are still strong so he still can chew. Qingzhu was left speechless. It stayed silent for a moment before crying and pleading, Princess, exactly what do you want to do? Can't you just get straight to the point? No matter what, I am still the state preceptor's pet. So you have to give him face. If you eat me today, how could you sleep with the state preceptor in the future? Does it mean that I will be able to sleep with the state preceptor if I do not make snake soup? Qingzhu nodded desperately. Of course. With my help, you will definitely be able to sleep with my master. So sparing my life will be useful to you. If you eat me, who will be your aide? Chapter 62, The Determination of the Iron-Blooded Troop by Feng Ruqing stroked her chin gently, thinking that what Qingzhu had said was indeed logical. I won't eat snake soup then. Feng Ruqing simply took out a divine spirit fruit and tossed it to Qingzhu. Do you want some snacks? Qingzhu's snake eyes were momentarily filled with doubt. It started at the fruit handed to it by Feng Ruqing but did not take a bite. Who knew if this sinister woman might poison the divine spirit fruit? Feng Ruqing saw through Qingzhu's thought at once. She smiled. You are a venomous snake. How could you still be afraid of poison? Qingzhu agreed and nodded. Its venom was indeed potent, so there was no need to be wary of the princess poisoning the divine spirit fruit. Thus, Qingzhu opened its mouth without hesitation and ate the fruit whole. Your divine spirit fruit seems a bit different from the ones I have had before. This one tastes better. Enriching had been observing Qingzhu's reaction from the beginning. This divine spirit fruit seemed to be some sort of temptation to the tier 3 spirit beasts like the snow wolf. However, the temptation ceased when it came to Qingzhu. This showed that it would not work at all if she tried to lure higher tier spirit beasts with divine spirit fruits. Qingzhu, I heard that you have injured Feng Rishuang before. Feng Riching asked, squinting. Qingzhu suddenly trembled. It cautiously peeked at Feng Riching, then subconsciously moved backward. That Feng Rishuang was her younger sister. Was it possible that she was trying to avenge her in the absence of the state preceptor? Princess, it was not my fault. It was all because that woman had trespassed Southern Bamboo Grove, and climbed into the state preceptor's bed when he wasn't in the bamboo hut. You think about it, the state preceptor's bed should belong to you. How could I not bite her when both of us saw her lying down on the bed? The snake defended itself. Feng Rooking's face darkened instantly. How dare Feng Rishuang climbed into the state preceptor's bed? Where is the bed now? The state preceptor is particular about hygiene. So he threw both the bed and Feng Rishuang out. Qingzhu smiled charmingly before continuing, actually, I already knew that you would be in touch with the state preceptor later on. So he is definitely your man. How could I let other women climb onto his bed? That was why I bit her the last time. Qingzhu's words buttered Feng Riching up the right way. She was completely flattered. With a smile plastered on her chubby face, she patted Qingzhu's head happily. Little snaky, you did a good job although you're a bit lunatic. Next time if anyone dares to approach the state preceptor, you can just bite her. However, Feng Riching threatened with a sweet smile but evil glare, if I get to know that you have betrayed me, I will make you into a bowl of snake soup for my father. Qingzhu shivered. It quickly promised her, never. I will never do that. The state preceptor usually does not allow anyone to come close to him. I have followed him for many years and so far, I haven't seen anyone get close to him. The state preceptor had a cold aura which prevented other people from approaching him. It usually scared people away so nobody ever tried to get closer. It was something seemingly impossible. Good. Feng Riching smiled happily in satisfaction. She liked this little snake even more now. By the way, why is the state preceptor away for a longer period this time? Last time, he just took 5 days off every month. I am not sure. Most of the time, Master does not allow me to follow him. However, you don't have to worry because there are no women around him. I can assure you this. You will definitely sleep with my master. Chapter 63. The determination of the iron-blooded troop. Qingzhu was scared that Feng Riching would misunderstand it. Thus, it quickly explained to her so that it would not end up as snake soup. Feng Rooking's face darkened again. Did she mention anything? It's getting late now. Little snaky, I think I need to make a move now. I'll come to visit you again next time. She stood up and stretched herself while looking at the sunset. Her smiling face gave people a warm feeling despite her gigantic figure, unlike her atrocious old self before. Qingzhu almost teared up. He pleaded silently, please do not come and see me again. I beg you. My little snake heart cannot take any shock. Little snaky, I know you are sad to see me leave. Don't worry, I will visit you tomorrow. Feng Riching assured when she saw Qingzhu tearing up. She patted its head while smiling sweetly. Since she had retrieved the iron-blooded token, she should pay a visit to the iron-blooded troop to prevent the people who had been loyal to her imperial mother for so many years from feeling bitterly disappointed at her. Since the year Empress Nalan had passed away, the iron-blooded troop had not appeared in public. They seemed to be hiding away in the palace and ignoring everything that was happening around them. They were even unwilling to obey the emperor's command. Due to Feng Tianyu's profound love toward Empress Nalan, he just turned a blind eye to those who refused to obey his command and let them do whatever they wanted. At this moment, there were a few women wearing plain attire practicing their martial arts in the quiet courtyard. Coincidentally, one of them saw Feng Ruqing, who suddenly appeared in the courtyard. She was so shocked to see her that she was unable to avoid the sword attack from her opponent, allowing a cut through her sleeve. Her sleeve was ripped off before falling to the ground. Feng Ruqing stood at the entrance. She greeted them awkwardly. "Have I disturbed your practice?" At this moment, everyone stopped moving and turned to look at Feng Ruqing. That woman who had had her sleeve cut off laughed bitterly and sneered. "Since Princess has given away the iron-blooded token to noble consort Rome, you have never visited again. Who knew you would remember us, the abandoned people?" After Empress Nalan had passed away, they initially thought that once the princess grew up, she would lead them on the battlefield. However, what awaited them was completely different. The princess had given them away. They were only loyal to the empress. After the empress had passed away, they would only obey the empress' daughter but not even her son, if she had one. However, the princess did not understand what this had meant to them. Her decision to give away the iron-blooded token was like a betrayal which forced them to betray their late empress. They might even be barred from entering the battlefield for the rest of their lives. Tang Zi, the woman wearing purple attire who was standing at the side, tugged at Tang Zi's sleeve to stop her. She then turned to Feng Ruqing. She maintained her indifference and was faintly aloof toward Feng Ruqing. "Your Royal Highness, what do you command us to do?" Feng Ruqing rubbed her nose and walked into the courtyard. "I am quite free, so I am here to visit all of you. Oh, by the way, the iron-blooded token. I have retrieved it from noble consort Rome." Tang Zi's body stiffened for a few seconds before raising her head sharply to look at Feng Ruqing. The iron-blooded token. She had gotten it back. Really? I was too immature before this. I have done a lot of wrongs. I am also aware that I have hurt all of you deeply. However, I will spend the rest of my life compensating my wrongdoings. I will let you go to the battlefield again to prove to the people that women are not weaker than men. I assure you of more accomplishments and glory in the future. Chapter 64. The determination of the iron-blooded troop 3. The old Feng Ruqing had insisted on giving the iron-blooded token to noble consort Rome. On that day, the whole iron-blooded troop kneeled at her door. They listed out the challenges faced by the empress and even described to her about the hardship in forming the iron-blooded troop in hopes of convincing her to get the iron-blooded token back. However, what Feng Ruqing said had completely broken every troop member's heart into pieces. She said she was the owner of the troop while they were just her servants. Since they were the people her imperial mother had given to her, she had the right to give them to anyone she liked. Nobody could question or stop her. To her, these people were not any different from the spirit beasts which could be tossed around. Since then, the troop members had never begged her for anything again. Their broken hearts simply could not feel warmth anymore. Tang Zi tightened her fists. On that fateful day, no matter how they pleaded with her, she had just ignored their request to get the iron-blooded token back. Why did she choose to get it back now? Could it be due to their cold treatment toward noble consort Rome, so she asked Feng Ruqing to be the middle person? Nevertheless, the iron-blooded troop was different from other military troops. The imperial city's military troop was affiliated with the whole kingdom. So they had to obey the military order given by anyone who had the military token in hand. However, these women chose to follow their instincts and as they were pampered by His Majesty, had never failed to give a long face to noble consort Roang. Up until today, noble consort Roang still could not forcefully confront them as she feared the troops' power. Did noble consort Roang request you to come here? Tang Zi mocked her and laughed bitterly. Besides noble consort Roang, who dares or is able to command you, the princess? Even if you have given her the iron-blooded token, we will never obey her commands. Ask her to give it up. Feng Ruqing sighed. How serious was the trauma caused by the previous owner? Even though she was genuine and sincere, nobody was willing to trust her. I understand that it's impossible for you to trust me fully, but please don't worry, I will prove myself to you and all of you will submit to me willingly based on my own ability. I will never depend on my father's power. If Feng Ruqing really wanted something, she could just tell Feng Tianyu about it. They would still somehow obey his command. However, they did not fully trust her. If they were forced to submit to her, they might not assist her wholeheartedly. What she really needed was their loyalty. This time, I did not bring any gifts for you except for some fruits. Unfortunately, there are not many of them, so I have used my spiritual force to turn them into juice. However, this juice had been diluted by her. There were too many troop members that the juice would not be enough if she did not dilute it. Even though she had diluted the juice, she predicted that each person could only drink a mouthful of it. Luckily, divine spirit fruit she had planted contained high spiritual qi. So even though it was diluted, it could still help in relieving fatigue. Except for the fact that the effect was not as fast and as effective as eating the whole fruit. Tang Zi and fellow women stared at Feng Ruqing who had put down the 2 teapots. They did not utter a single word. Everyone was puzzled at the real intention behind the princess' behavior today. How could she be so kind as to bring over some fruit juice for them? I better not disturb your training. Do ask the rest of the troop members to come here. I have purposely bought it from the spirit herbs shop. Although the grade 1 divine spirit fruit was the easiest to grow among the grade 1 spirit herbs, it was becoming rarer due to the spirit beasts. That was why it was quite difficult to get them in this land or General Nalan would not have been thrilled by it before this. The other spirit herbs were quite easy to get from the spirit herbs shop. Of course, Feng Ruqing did not tell them these stories. Even though the number of the divine spirit fruits was lower now, it was still available. Thus, it should not be a problem when she had claimed that the fruits were from the spirit herbs shop. Chapter 65. Her transformation. Tang Zi bit her lip softly. She stared at Feng Ruqing but no words came out of her mouth. Feng Ruqing shrugged and left the place after she had put down the teapots. She knew that she was not welcomed. Until she was gone, Tang Zi and the rest of the troop members did not open their mouths to stop her from leaving. Tang Zi, this divine spirit fruit juice. Is it authentic? The woman in a purple attire muttered softly. Last time, when General Nalan was preparing to go for a battle, she had brought him a pot of tea to send him off. The general thought she had transformed into a better person so he drank it happily. However, he ended up having diarrhea and it had affected his departure to the battlefield. She had done too many evil things to the extent that people did not believe her anymore. Finally, Tang Zi made up her mind and lifted the teapot and poured herself a small cup of juice. As the others tried to stop her from drinking, she already gulped down the juice in one shot. I want to be completely disappointed, Tang Zi said and laughed bitterly after wiping the juice from the corners of her mouth. The whole courtyard fell silent. Nobody said a word. In fact, all of them understood that Tang Zi still had a glimpse of hope in the princess. Although she kept saying that she had given up on her, she still hoped that the princess would change. After a long wait, the diarrhea that they had expected did not happen. Tang Zi's exhaustion, which initially showed on her face, had slowly disappeared after drinking the divine spirit fruit juice. Her energy was gradually restored. "Tang Zi, how are you feeling now?" The woman in a purple attire asked her hesitantly. Tang Zi stared blankly at the teapot on the stone table. After staying silent for a moment, she lifted up her head and uttered, "This divine spirit fruit is real." She had initially thought that Feng Ruqing would prank them like what she had done to General Nalan by adding something fishy into the drink. She had even prepared herself for the worst. However, she did not expect that her strength, which was exhausted during the training, was slowly recovered after drinking the juice. "Ling Yun, ask the rest of our troop members to come here." Tang Zi stared confusedly in the direction where Feng Ruqing had just left. She had really came here just to send the divine spirit fruit to them. Not to prank them. Or to advise them to submit to noble consort Rong. Feng Ruqing was unable to predict what were in Tang Zi and the rest of the members' minds. Initially, she had planned to pay Feng Tianyu a visit. However, when she had reached the imperial study, she heard Feng Tianyu and a minister's voices discussing something, so she left without disturbing them. The imperial palace looked serene and tranquil at night. At this very moment, she suddenly sensed a chaotic spiritual force from the small alley nearby. Feng Ruqing subconsciously stopped her in her tracks. She stroked her chin as she felt that something interesting might happen right at this very moment. Someone lost control to the point of possession. TSK, this is interesting. If it had happened in other places, she would not have even be bothered about it. However, this happened in Luyun Kingdom, which was her father's territory. She was curious to know the person who had lost control during cultivation. If this incident affected the lives of the citizens of Luyun Kingdom, it would not be good. Feng Ruqing turned and walked into the alley. An abandoned house stood at the end of the alley. That was where the chaotic spiritual force came from. She walked toward the entrance to the abandoned house and pushed the door open. What she could see was only a courtyard filled with weed and grass, and a youth who looked like a beggar sitting in the middle of the courtyard. His hair was messy and disheveled. His clothes were torn and shabby. There was also a faint pink scar on his dirty, ashen face. He looked like he had not washed his face for a long time. Chapter 66, Her Transformation too. But Feng Ruqing's eyes dilated in fear because of this face which was covered in dust. Roar! The youth roared. His power was suddenly unleashed and exploded in the air. The grass and trees nearby were completely destroyed by his power. Soon, the youth fell backward and hit the ground loudly and helplessly. Feng Ruqing's face changed and turned pale at that moment. Her eyes were filled with deep fear. She rushed toward the youth who lay on the ground unconscious. Her hand was trembling terribly and she hugged the young beggar tightly. She got up and went out of the manor. There were two masters from the palace hidden in the dark corner. They looked at each other in astonishment. Did the princess fall in love with the youth? Would she try to sleep with him when he is out cold? The first secret guard kept quiet for a moment and asked, "Do we need to report to His Majesty?" Report to His Majesty. How to report? Just say that the princess picked up a youth as her gigolo. But if they did not report to His Majesty when they knew of the truth, His Majesty would surely make them pay for it when His Majesty learned about it later. The second guard hinted at the first guard and said, "You go and continue protecting the princess. I'll go and report to His Majesty." All right. Feng Ruqing had always been called the most obese person in Luyun Kingdom. The public had a very deep impression on her even when she seldom left the palace in the first place. Thus, the whole Luyun Kingdom was in great shock when they found out that Feng Ruqing brought a youth back to the princess manor. Especially when that youth was still unconscious. They gossiped about it then. They thought that Feng Ruqing had fallen for the youth and had given an order to knock him unconscious before bringing him back to the princess manor. Therefore, her bad reputation was made even worse because of this incident. In the princess manor, Lu Li and Qing Ling were stunned as they watched Feng Ruqing bring a youth back to her room. They were so shocked that none of them uttered a word and just watched with dull eyes. The princess brought a man back. And they went straight into her room. Did she not want to sleep with the state preceptor before this? Was the state preceptor too difficult to be conquered that the princess knocked down some random man and brought him back out of anger? No, I need to go and stop the princess. Qing Ling almost burst into tears. They could forget about when the princess fell for Lu Yuchen before. But now, the princess had brought some random man home, and did he even deserve the princess? She did not hope that the princess would give herself up in a rush. Lu Li quickly held Qing Ling back by holding her sleeve when she saw that Qing Ling was about to break into the princess' room. The princess is no longer her old self anymore. I believe that she has changed. Let's wait and see. If we do hear the man crying for help, we will go and stop the princess. The wind blew softly. The bedsheet ruffled slightly. Feng Ruqing stared at the youth who was lying on the bed. She could not help but reach out to touch the youth's face gently. It resembled him so much, his facial features, his eyebrows. All resembled Cheer so much. Cheer, is that you? Suddenly, the youth who was lying on the bed opened his eyes. His eyes were so clear that she never saw them before. Feng Ruqing recovered her composure and closed her eyes slightly. He was not Cheer. Even if his facial features resembled Cheer, she could see from his eyes that he was not her younger brother, Feng Jianche. Who are you? The youth gazed at Feng Ruqing and asked in his clear and loud voice. Feng Ruqing's eyes narrowed and said, I'm Feng Ruqing. Her gaze was locked onto the youth's face. But she was disappointed to find out that the youth did not show any change in his emotion after hearing this name. His eyes were still so clear and honest. Chapter 67. Her Transformation 3. The youth bit his lips gently and asked, Then where is this place? Why am I here? Feng Ruqing glanced at the youth and explained, This is my manor. I passed by and brought you back here. If I am not wrong, your body has changed. If you continue your training forcefully, you will be possessed by the devil eventually. Feng Ruqing smiled and said, If you want to stay in my manor, I can help you. She still could not help herself. She wanted to keep the youth here. Cheer had always been her only family in Huaxia. As his elder sister, she had let him take care of her for so many years. Now that she had come here, she might never be able to meet him again for the rest of her life. Thus, she wanted to keep him here selfishly just for the sake of looking at this familiar face. It was like Cheer was right by her side. But she would not force him if he was reluctant. The youth was stunned. He gazed at Feng Ruqing and asked her, Aren't you afraid? Nobody dared to get near him after he had left his family. Everyone was afraid of him, especially after they had learned about his body condition. They were afraid that they would be affected. Why did this woman wanted to let him stay? I'm not afraid of you. I can help you too. Feng Ruqing slowly approached the youth. You can see very well that my manor is always short-handed. You can stay and help me protect the manor, and I can help you solve the problems that plague your body. She had received a telepathic message from Fu Qin earlier that the problem that plagued the youth's body could be solved. This was both beneficial and harmful to the youth. Feng Ruqing only realized now that she had always been under the supervision of those two things. Feng Ruqing saw that the youth did not reply, and she continued walking toward him. Her whole body was emitting a soft spiritual force. This spiritual force was weak, and this proved that the young girl's strength was not strong. But he was aware that his body was healing after feeling the gentleness of the spiritual force. He had never felt so calm and relaxed in so many years. The youth's eyes were filled with doubt. Many years ago, a wanderer told him that he was destined to meet someone who could help him if he went in the direction of east. Therefore, he came to Luyun Kingdom. That person who could help him. Was it her? Fine. I'll stay. He got nothing now but his life. What could go wrong if he tried? If he could not solve his Boda's problem, he would not be able to take revenge in the future. Enriching smiled in satisfaction, then turned and pushed open the door of the room. But two people who were sneaking around at the door nearly fell into the room. Luckily, they could steadily come to their feet. They just stood there and looked at Enriching in fear. Enriching's face darkened and asked, "What are you doing here?" Qingling laughed sheepishly. "Luli and I are just waiting for your order, princess." "Then, both of you go and prepare bath water for him to clean up. He'll stay in the princess manor from now on." Qingling and Luli were stunned. He would be staying in the princess manor. In the princess manor. "Princess, have you forgotten your ambition of sleeping with the state preceptor? You cannot give up." Chapter 68, A youth named Qinchin. Enriching's face darkened. She glared at Qingling. "Qingling, you're overthinking. Who said I've given up sleeping with the state preceptor? Sleeping with the state preceptor is my lifelong wish. I'll never give it up." Qingling bit her lip and stopped talking. The princess had randomly brought back an unfamiliar youth and she could not help but overthink. After leaving this message behind, Enriching let the two palace maids take care of the youth and left. The spirit herbs in the mountain were taken care of by the spirit beast, but it did not mean that the snow wolf would not steal and eat them. So, Enriching would go and stroll around the mountain sometimes lest the other spirit beasts were unable to suppress the grumpy snow wolf. Luckily, the snow wolf was considered obedient and it did not destroy the spirit herbs. It might understand that there would be a bowl of wolf broth in the princess manor the next day if it laid its hands on the spirit herbs without permission. On the next day, in the morning, the sunlight was so bright that lit up the land beneath it. As Enriching opened the door of her room, the bright sunlight flooded in from above and upon her plump body. Suddenly, something caught her eyes as she turned to the youth who was under the willow tree. The youth was dressed in a white shirt. His face was handsome and his skin was fair. His fairness was cleaner than a piece of white paper. It seemed that he was never affected by any impurities. He looked so innocent that nobody dared to destroy it. Looking at how Enriching gazed upon him, the youth's face expressed a sense of awkwardness. He seemed to not like this kind of attention. "Are you awake?" His voice was just like his appearance, beautiful and clean. It made his voice unforgettable after hearing it. "Yeah." Enriching answered softly. After washing up, the youth looked even more like Cheer. But she understood that this youth would never be him. "Is there anything you would like me to do?" The youth fixed his clear eyes upon Enriching. "I don't want to stay here for free." "What are you able to do?" "I can't do anything." The youth's voice was very confident. Enriching was stunned. "You can't do anything? Then, why did you ask if you didn't know anything?" She kept quiet for a while and said, "Then, you follow me everywhere I go and protect me. Can you do that?" Although there was some problem with the youth's body which rendered him unable to train for now, Enriching could still feel that this youth's power was not low. It so happened that there was a lack of imperial guards whom she could bring out of the princess manor. For Luli and Qingling, they might even need her protection. "All right." The youth bit his lip. His voice was clear and precise. "Oh, that's right. What's your name?" Enriching raised her eyebrows and asked. The youth looked at Enriching and replied, "Qinchin." My name is Chin. The surname of Chin was very common and Feng Ruqing could not guess his identity from his name. However, Feng Ruqing stroked her chin gently, smiled and sized Chin up. Your appearance is so much better after you have cleaned up. Don't ever make yourself look like a beggar anymore in the future. You're not handicapped, and why did you dress up like that? The youth's face froze, then he lowered his head. I still like myself better that way. Although there was a scar on his face, there were still a lot of men and women who would like to forcibly possess him after he had left his family. So, he became like that after a while just to protect himself. But, I like you better now that you're clean and tidy. Feng Ruqing stroked her chin gently and smiled a little. Chapter 69. A youth named Chin too. Those bright eyes were like rays of light, unknowingly shining into the youth's heart. If you like it, the youth's innocent eyes fell on Feng Ruqing again. Then, it'll be like this from now on. Feng Ruqing was stunned. There was a flash of doubt in her eyes. It seemed that she had returned to her previous life where there were only Cheer and herself, relying solely on each other. In fact, Cheer had this innocent smile but had forced himself into being a cruel and powerful businessman just for her sake. But, he would still be like a child around her. He said, I can be whoever you want me to be. Moreover, Cheer had built that nursing home just for her. But, she still left him behind. How could he survive in a world without her? How lonely would he be? Feng Ruqing lowered her eyes and smiled. Chainer, my imperial mother did not leave me with any siblings. In fact, I'm also lonely. After meeting you, I feel that, maybe we were siblings in our previous lives. From now on, Feng Ruqing's voice broke. She raised her hand and patted Chin's shoulders. You'll be my younger brother, the younger brother of Feng Ruqing. If you have nowhere else to go, my Princess Manor will always be your home. There was a sudden flutter in Chin's heart. Home. This word. How long since he last heard of this word? The people whom he had met all these years always had bad intentions toward him. Only she made him feel warm. Chin lowered his eyes. He did not understand why this girl treated him so well given that they had just met the day before. Was there any hidden plot? Chin laughed at himself when he thought of this. How could he be the target of anybody given what he had now? Maybe they were indeed siblings in their previous lives and she just wanted to treat him well. Do you know how to cook? Feng Ruqing rubbed her hungry stomach. She was hungry now even if it was still early in the morning. Chin nodded his head slightly. I know how to cook just a bit. It may not suit your tastes. It's okay. Just go and make some light breakfast. Okay. Chin replied obediently. He turned and walked toward the kitchen. Feng Ruqing was already there waiting for Chin in the kitchen. Soon, a youth in white appeared from the door where the sunlight flooded in. He was holding a bowl of hot porridge in his hands and there was even an aroma of sweet olives. Feng Ruqing froze at this familiar scent. She kept her hands tightly by her side as she breathed hard. She recovered her composure slowly only when the sweet olive porridge was placed in front of her. She took up a small mouthful of the porridge, tasting it. Chenair, have you heard of Huaxia before? Feng Ruqing raised her head and looked at Chin directly. There was an uncertainty in Chin's eyes. Huaxia. Is that a sect? Feng Ruqing lowered her head in a somewhat disappointed manner. Maybe it was only a coincidence. There was once when she was hungry when they were young. Cheer stole a handful of rice and wanted to cook porridge for her. But, he was afraid that it was too light a meal. It was the season when sweet olives were in bloom. So, he picked some sweet olives and cooked it together with the porridge. Later when she was in the nursing home, Cheer still cooked her some sweet olive porridge every day even though he was busy. But he was not Cheer. This was only a coincidence. Never mind. Feng Ruching shook her head and smiled gently. From now on, you can cook me a bowl of sweet olive porridge every day. Is that okay? Qin Chen nodded. All right. Chapter 70, Lu Yuchen, who always hangs around the spirit herb soup, which was used for slimming purposes, could not be consumed every day. There should be an interval of 5 days before it could be consumed for the second time. Even so, her body shape had become slimmer nevertheless. However, the previous owner was too obese, so much so that it was impossible for her to slim down to a normal body size within a day or two. Feng Ruching also ran several rounds around Southern Street every day just for show, for fear that her weight loss would appear too sudden and quick. It had astonished the people who saw her. Surprisingly, the most obese person in Luyun Kingdom had started to slim down. Enemies were always bound to meet someday. Today, Feng Ruching met Lu Yuchen and Tan Shuang, who were holding hands when she had just finished her morning run. Lu Yuchen was prohibited to leave the Lu family's manor these few days, that he did not know anything about what had happened in the Southern Street. He had just gotten permission to leave that day. So, he was stunned first before he felt disgusted when he saw Feng Ruching running toward him. Princess, you promised to divorce me and I really thought that you planned to give me freedom. But, I did not know that you are still the same person who would do anything just to meet me. In the past, Feng Ruching had never left her home. She had always created some chance meetings with him whenever she left the palace. This time was no different too. Tan Shuang stopped walking and subconsciously held Lu Yuchen's hand tightly. Her eyes were filled with fear. Lu Yuchen saw how frightened Tan Shuang was and he felt angrier than ever. It seemed that Feng Ruching had damaged her heart and soul deeply. But Feng Ruching just ran past Lu Yuchen. She did not slow down. She also did not look at Lu Yuchen. It was as if he was just an insignificant stranger. Lu Yuchen's handsome face stiffened. He turned his head slightly, anger flaring in his eyes. Ching. A youth who was paler than the snow was standing not far away. He was clean like the first snow. He was still beautiful even though there was a scar on his face. He smiled slightly at the girl who was running toward him. His smile was so sincere that it could not be slighted. Chainer, let's go home. Feng Ruching smiled. Time was drawing near. Now that the spirit wine would be completed, she finally had a gift to present to the general's manor. Princess. Lu Yuchen was angrier than ever. In the past, Feng Ruching would look at him. But now, she ignored him for some youth. Feng Ruching stopped running, turned and looked at Lu Yuchen condescendingly. Lu Yuchen, you are so shameless. What did you say? What did I say? Don't you understand? Feng Ruching sneered at him. You come here purposely just to meet me by chance. What? Can't you reconcile with the fact that I've divorced you? Or you can't bear to part with me? But, I'm born with a free soul that I love freedom so much. You can just give it up and forget about me. Lu Yuchen almost lost control, that he would have exploded there and then if it was not for Feng Ruching's status. How dare Feng Ruching reply him with exactly what he had just told her? Creating chance meetings with Feng Ruching. This was indeed a joke. Only she would do this kind of thing. They were surrounded by some people at that time. They did not dare to come nearer because they were afraid that they would offend the villain princess. Chapter 71, Lu Yuchen, who always hangs around Feng Ruching, had gone for morning runs these few days. All the other people saw that clearly. So, it seemed that Lu Yuchen was the one who had bothered her. Princess. Lu Yuchen suppressed his anger again and sneered at her. We have just parted for a few days, and now you have found yourself a new lover. Does His Majesty know about it? You have clearly brought shame to our Luyun kingdom. Feng Ruqing smiled and said, First, we have not parted. I was the one who has divorced you. Second, what have you got to do with my business now that we have divorced? Lu Yuchen, don't tell me you still have feelings for me and now you want to woo me again. Nonsense. Lu Yuchen was worried that Tan Shuangshuang would misunderstand. He quickly stopped her from speaking. I, Lu Yuchen, have never liked you, not in the past, not now, not ever. Lu Yuchen had never dared to speak like this to Feng Ruqing. But, now he was so angry that his eyes were filled with fury as he glared at her. That's just fine. Feng Ruqing yawned sleepily. I'm worried that you have fallen for me and now you want to pursue me again. We can just act like strangers now that we no longer like each other. You don't have to call after me the next time we meet again. Fallen for her. Lu Yuchen scanned Feng Ruqing's appearance and sneered at her. Princess, you've thought too much. I have a perfect girl like Shuang'er beside me. Who would fall for you? She was so ugly and plump. How could she think that he had fallen for her? What a joke. Qin Chen frowned and said, She is not as beautiful as Qingqing won this time. Feng Ruqing's face darkened. Was Chainer praising her or criticizing her? Are you blind? Lu Yuchen laughed at Qin Chen. Qin Chen disregarded Feng Ruqing's smile. He put on a poker face and said, Qingqing is just bigger than regular people. But, she is the most beautiful girl I have ever met. This time, everybody on the street glanced sympathetically at Qin Chen. They sympathized with him for being blind at such a young age. How on earth was Feng Ruqing beautiful? They were disgusted with her plump body. Feng Ruqing's face darkened even more. But, Chainer was her family and she did not want to embarrass him. So, she smiled slightly and said, Chainer, I know that I'm beautiful. You don't have to say it out loud. Lu Yuchen stared in wonder at Feng Ruqing. Did she really think that she was beautiful? Where did her confidence come from? Was it just because she was a princess? All right. Qin Chen recovered and gazed at Feng Ruqing. You commoners will never see her beauty. It's enough that I know she's beautiful. Feng Ruqing was left speechless. Why did she think that Chainer was criticizing her? But, her words were out and she could not take them back. Chainer, let's go home. We don't have to deal with these people. Okay. Qin Chen was obedient to Feng Ruqing. He turned and looked at Lu Yuchen before he left. That look frightened Lu Yuchen so much that he balled his fists tightly just to suppress his anxiety. Yuchen. Tan Shuangshuang tugged at Lu Yuchen's arm nervously. Her eyes were watery and she looked so timid. Lu Yuchen composed himself and relaxed just a bit. He said gently, Shuangshuang, you don't have to listen to his nonsense. You're the most beautiful girl in Luyun Kingdom. Everybody knows that. He's just blind. Chapter 72, Lu Yuchen who always hangs around 3 Yuchen, would it be a nuisance to the Chancellor's manor if His Majesty got to know about your feud with the princess? His Majesty was overly protective of the princess. There might be a conflict if His Majesty learned about it. Lu Yuchen frowned and said, would willingly accept the punishment if His Majesty punishes me. I don't want you to be treated unfairly. Yuchen, you treat me so well. Tan Shuangshuang's eyes welled up with tears and were filled with emotions. The love you show me in this life is the best thing that could ever happen to me. But I don't want you to offend the princess and affect the Chancellor's manner. Lu Yuchen's heart softened. Why do you always put others before yourself? Tan Shuang smiled and lowered her eyes. It's because you're the one I love the most in this life. Besides, the princess was only acting tough just now. She still loves you deep down in her heart. Can't you see that? I don't want the man that I love to go and hurt other women. Aren't you angry at her for flogging you before? I'm angry. Tan Shuang smiled sadly and continued, but what could I do? Better let bygones be bygones. I believe that she will sincerely wish us well. Lu Yuchen kept quiet. He looked in the direction where Feng Ruqing disappeared from his sight. Was it his illusion? He thought that Feng Ruqing had changed. She was different now. It seemed that she was no longer infatuated with him now. In the cellar, Feng Ruqing sneaked into the cellar after dismissing all the people. She opened the wine jar slowly after picking it up. Suddenly, a pleasant smell crept into the room and made her feel very energetic. This spirit's wine was good for strengthening the body and healing illnesses. This was just the right medicine for Master Nalan. I'll give this spirit herbs to my grandfather. Next time, I'll give one to my father too. The emperor had been working laboriously in the past few years. It would be beneficial for His Majesty to have either the spirit wine or divine spirit fruit. She no longer hesitated when she thought of this. She brought the wine jar out of the cellar. The general's manor was no longer prosperous and lively after the death of Empress Nalan. It was now serene and quiet. It was not because the general was no longer favored by the emperor. The general's manor was still favored by the emperor. But they chose to not be in contact with others because they hated to do so. Now, Feng Ruqing hugged the wine jar close to her chest and stood outside the general's manor. She took a deep breath and walked up the stairs slowly. The imperial guards who were guarding the entrance at the general's manor saw Feng Ruqing from afar. They were soon nervous, their eyes filled with fear. Why did this villain come again? But Feng Ruqing did not walk into the general's manor right away. She stood at the entrance and smiled at the two imperial guards. Could you go and inform my grandfather that I've come to visit him? The two imperial guards looked at each other blankly. Inform? Did they hear it wrongly? On top of that, this villain princess was smiling at them now. Was the sun rising up from the west now? All right. One of the imperial guards composed himself and replied quickly, Princess, please wait here for a while. I'll go and inform the general and Master Nalan now. Then, he glanced at his companion next to him and turned to walk into the manor quickly. Chapter 73, The First Visit to the Old General I in the General's Manor. Nalan Zhangqian was carefully reading a book in his hand in the study room. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Come in, he frowned slightly and replied in a deep voice. The imperial guard pushed the door open and walked inside. He was clearly anxious. He tried but failed to suppress the tremor in his voice as he said to Nalan Zhangqian, General, the princess, she is here. The book in Nalan Zhangqian's hand fell onto the table with a thud. He clenched his fists tightly and closed his eyes. He was having trouble breathing. After a short while, he opened his eyes and he smiled sardonically. Why did she come again? He could forgive what Feng Ruqing had done to General Manor. He could even forgive how she had brought shame to Luyun Kingdom. But, he could not forgive her for making him sick on the day when he was preparing to go into war. He could not even forgive her for giving up all his sister's efforts to noble consort Rome. The imperial guard looked at Nalan Zhangqian carefully. She said, she wanted to pay a visit to the old general. Nalan Zhangqian scoffed and said, does she think that the damage she had done to my father was not enough? Does she really want to make him angry again? You go and tell Feng Ruqing that my father is not in the manor. His heart was gentle once. He had forgiven her for so many times that even when she had burnt down General Manor, he could still forgive her. He pitied her for she had no mother since she was born. He wanted to give her more love and care. But she had hurt him so much now that his heart had hardened when it came to her. He would never forgive her. Yes, General. The Imperial Guard sighed. If the princess was allowed to go near the old general, she might infuriate the old general again. The Imperial Guard turned to walk out of the study room and closed the door behind him. He could see Feng Ruqing, who was waiting at the entrance from afar. Suddenly, a shadow appeared from the side as he was about to convey to her the general's message. The shadow was running toward Feng Ruqing. Lady! The two Imperial Guards were frightened to death. Feng Ruqing had always bullied Nayland Dyer for the past few years. Now that Feng Ruqing had appeared in front of Nayland Dyer, they did not know what kind of damage would be done to her again. However, they were soon relieved when they saw a young man following closely behind Dyer. Feng Ruqing could not bully Dyer now that their young master was accompanying Dyer. Cousin. Nayland Dyer had missed Feng Ruqing so much these past few days, but Feng Ruqing had not come to visit her. Her eagerness had turned into disappointment. Now, Dyer could not help but rush out to meet Feng Ruqing since she was just right in front of her. Dyer threw herself into Feng Ruqing's arms. Feng Ruqing's heart softened while hugging her soft and gentle cousin. Feng Ruqing looked upon Dyer with tender eyes. Nayland Jing was stunned. His eyes did not leave that plump body which belonged to Feng Ruqing even for a while. Doubt filled his eyes momentarily. Feng Ruqing could be this gentle too. Cousin. You did not come to meet me. Dyer clearly felt sad. Cousin, you promised. Feng Ruqing smiled and stroked Dyer's head. I promised that I'll come and visit you. I certainly will fulfill that promise. I was just too busy these past few days. Now, I've come. Haven't I? Yes. Dyer seemed so obedient and her smile was so sweet. Dyer likes cousin now. Chapter 74, The first visit to the old general. The cousin no longer bullied her. It was a pleasant feeling. Dyer, where's your grandpa? Feng Ruqing straightened her body, smiled and asked. That Imperial Guard was almost frightened to death at that moment. He wanted to stop Nayland Dyer from speaking. But Dyer was fast even though she had a mental disability. She replied swiftly, Grandpa's tending to the grass in the backyard. The Imperial Guard soon paled at this. He remembered what the general had said and his legs shook in fear. Young master, the Imperial Guard looked at Nayland Jing anxiously. Nayland Jing kept quiet for a moment before he replied, It's all right. I'll guard her behavior. I'll dismiss her from General Manor regardless of her status if she bullies Dyer again. It might be because of how she had argued with Feng Ruquang at the Beast Court. Or, it might be because of the tenderness he saw in Feng Ruqing's eyes that made him want to trust her again. Nayland Jing laughed at himself when he thought of this. How much damage would you allow her to do to you before you hate her for the rest of your life? Nayland Dyer grabbed onto Feng Ruqing's hand and walked toward the backyard. The Imperial Guard did not hesitate to rush to the study room when he saw what happened. He had to inform the general before Feng Ruqing made any fuss in the general's manner. In the backyard, there was an old man whose hair was white. He was bent forward and was taking extra care of the herbs in the backyard. He was not as strong as he was before. He had aged faster than the others. Feng Ruqing felt a tinge of sadness when she saw his white hair from afar. The old general was still strong and tough a few years back in her past memory. Now, his back was hunched and his hair had turned white. He could only tend to the herbs at home and could no longer serve Luyun Kingdom. For a person like him who had sacrificed his whole life for Luyun Kingdom, this kind of life seemed pathetic. Jinger, you're here. Master Nalan smiled and looked up. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared in front of him. Master Nalan's hands shook as the watering can he was holding fell to the ground. The dirt splashed onto his body, but he did not seem to care. He still looked at Feng Ruching in shock. Master Nalan's frightened eyes made Feng Ruching feel worse than ever. No grandfather in this world would be angry at his grandchildren for real. He was just sad. He was sad that his children did not listen to him when they grew up. He wanted his children to stay by him, but he was worried that she would break his heart again. Chinger, you're here too. Master Nalan composed himself, smiled and said, "This place is so messy. Why don't we go somewhere else?" He looked worriedly at the herbs in the backyard. Then, he sighed. These herbs were his efforts. He had used a few months to gather them from all around the country. He did not want them to be destroyed. In fact, everybody was aware of how Feng Ruching was before. Feng Ruching did not say anything in return. She casually put the wine jar in Nalan Jing's hands. Nalan Jing was stunned, but he took the wine jar anyway. By the time he had recovered from his stupor, Feng Ruching had walked toward Master Nalan. She then picked up the watering can. Everybody was nervous when they saw Feng Ruching going near the herbs. Nalan Jing was on the verge of stopping her when Feng Ruching started casually watering the herbs. Chapter 75. The First Visit to the Old General 3. Grandpa, there are 2 types of spirit herbs here among your herbs. There's a grade 2 spirit herb, 7-star grass, and a grade 3 spirit herb, peace bloom. Feng Ruching strongly felt a tension in the atmosphere when she mentioned the grade 3 spirit herbs. It was clear that a hungry beast had its eyes on the grade 3 spirit herbs. Feng Ruching's face darkened. These spirit herbs belonged to her grandfather. Her grandfather had clearly put a lot of effort into obtaining the spirit herbs. She would never let that hungry beast get hold of the spirit herbs. Master Nalan looked at Feng Ruching in surprise. You can recognize spirit herbs. Grandpa, can you tell me how did you obtain these spirit herbs? Feng Ruching smiled and asked. Grade 3 spirits herbs were very special. One would need to put in a lot of effort to obtain them in the first place, even if one had a lot of money. Master Nalan sighed and replied, these 2 spirit herbs had gone bad, so I got them at a low price. I just wanted to try and see if I could make them live. Spirit herbs were different from normal herbs. The normal herbs could be stored as dried medicine, but spirit herbs were only effective when they were fresh. However, some spirit herbs were not available in all seasons and therefore storing them was a difficult task. These 2 spirit herbs were clearly rotting and they were no longer fresh. But they would soon die if her grandfather continued using the traditional way to water them. Feng Ruching lowered her eyes and asked Fu Qin through telepathy, Fu Qin, do you have any way to save these 2 spirit herbs? Soon, Fu Chen's voice replied, you can plant spirit herbs. So, for sure you can save them. Do you still need to ask me such a simple question? Feng Ruching's face darkened a little more. Although they're my family, I still cannot let them know about my ability to plant spirit herbs before I'm mature enough in doing so. Do you have any other ways? Fu Qin kept quiet for a while before saying, there's no other way. Why don't you steal these 2 spirit herbs back for Qing Han and I to eat rather than leaving them here to go to waste? He was hungry for so long that he could not wait to eat those spirit herbs. You cannot have these spirit herbs. Feng Ruching's eyes narrowed. I'll tell you what. If you don't tell me the way, I'll disown you. Fu Qin was shocked. He kept quiet for a long time before he reluctantly told her of the way. You can soak a 100-year-old ginseng in water. Then, you can use it to water the spirit herbs. These are spirit herbs and they cannot be saved with normal medicine. At least you can try with the 100-year ginseng. A 100-year-old ginseng is expensive, but it is not a spirit herb. My grandpa will surely be able to obtain it with his influence and power. Feng Riching now could smile with satisfaction. Then, Fu Chen's voice was heard again in a careful whisper. You won't disown me anymore now that I've told you the way, right? Where else could Fu Chen find another guardian to tend to his life if he lost her? Unfortunately, Fu Chen had intended to lie to get the peace bloom, but now all efforts had gone to waste. You will always be my good son if you listen to me obediently. This son came naturally without any effort. He was gullible and innocent. She would be insane if she were to disown him. Feng Riching smiled and looked at her grandfather. Grandpa, I have heard of a way before. If you soak a 100-year-old ginseng in the water, you can use it to water the spirit herbs. Then, the spirit herbs could live with the spirit from the 100-year-old ginseng. Master Nalan was stunned. He kept quiet. Feng Riching continuously persuaded them. The spirit herbs are almost dead. You could try and see if this method could save them. Chapter 76, The Astonishing Effect of Spirit Wine. Master Nalan was silent. In fact, the spirit herbs would die if he did not do anything to save it. We have a 100-year-old ginseng in the Nalan family. Jinger, do what Jinger has said. Nalan Jing slightly nodded and looked at Feng Riching in confusion. He returned her wine jar and turned around to walk toward the storeroom. Nalan Zhangqian rushed home at lightning speed. His forehead was covered in sweat and his complexion was pale. He could see an old and a young person standing in front of Feng Riching. His facial expression shifted, his eyes were filled with anxiety. But, who knew, Nalan Dyer was not as afraid of Feng Riching as she was before. Her small body leaned toward Feng Riching and her face glowed with an innocent smile. Even Master Nalan was calm and at peace. He was not furious. Even so, Nalan Zhangqian did not lower his guard with Feng Riching. He took big strides toward Feng Riching, stopped in front of her, greeted her, and kneeled on one knee. Your Highness. Feng Riching was shocked. She quickly helped Nalan Zhangqian up. She smiled and said, Uncle, you don't have to be like this. We are a family. You don't have to greet me by kneeling. She could accept all the respect given by the other people but not the ones given by the elders in her family. Nalan Zhangqian stood up but his handsome face was still solemn. Princess, my father is not feeling well today. He cannot receive any guests. Please leave and I will bring my father to visit you at the Princess Manor when I am free in the future. Zhangqian. Master Nalan frowned at that. His face sunk. Qinger seldom comes to our manor. As her uncle, you not only did not order tea for her, now you want to dismiss her. Nalan Zhangqian was shocked. He did not think that his father would be partial toward Feng Riching. He suppressed his emotion and replied, Dad, have you forgotten how she had provoked you and bullied Dyer? I'm just worried about you. Master Nalan smiled and said, but she's still Yenner's daughter. She was Yenner's daughter no matter what. How could he be so strict toward her? If Feng Riching came and irritated him again this time, he would have made her leave without being asked by Nalan Zhangqian. But Feng Riching did not provoke him and she even treated Dyer gently. He still could not be cruel toward her. I don't want cousin to leave. Nalan Dyer pulled at Feng Riching's sleeve tightly, bit her lip, and looked at Nalan Zhangqian. Nalan Zhangqian was astonished. What had happened? Dyer was so afraid of Feng Riching before and Master Nalan had sworn to never meet Feng Riching again. But why did they not want Feng Riching to leave now? Dyer. Nalan Zhangqian was nervous now. These people were quick to forgive and forget. Now that Feng Ruqing had treated them in a slightly better way, they had soon forgotten how nastily she had treated them before. He had also given her many opportunities before, but she had never changed. Dyer likes cousin. Nalan Dyer grabbed at her tightly as if she was afraid that Nalan Zhangqian would make her leave. Her cousin seldom came to meet her. She did not want her to leave now that she had came. Nalan Zhangqian was extremely nervous now. He wanted to say something but stopped short when he saw Nalan Jing walking in slowly with a teapot in his hands. Chapter 77, The Astonishing Effect of Spirit Wine 2, My son is good. He knows that I'm angry now and he brings me a cup of tea. Nalan Zhangqian was indeed angry and he needed a cup of tea. Nalan Jing was quick to hide the teapot behind his back when he realized that Nalan Zhangqian was extending his arm to take the tea. He frowned and asked his father, "Dad, what are you doing?" Nalan Zhangqian froze and looked at his son. His extended arm stopped midair. He did not know whether to remain like that or to pull his arm back. He felt awkward. Nalan Zhangqian cleared his throat before he replied, "Jinger, your grandfather can only take tribute tea. But there is no more tribute tea in our manor. He couldn't care less about this kind of tea. Just give me that to me." This kid embarrassed him in front of everyone. Jinger surely knew that his grandfather took only tribute tea. For whom was the tea for if it was not for him? Was it for Feng Ruqing or Dyer? Nalan Jing looked at his father warily. "This is not tea." "Not tea? Then what is this?" Nalan Zhangqian was stunned. What could a teapot hold besides tea? 100-year-old ginseng water, 100-year-old ginseng water. 100-year-old ginseng water. Nalan Zhangqian's face darkened. He fixed his eyes on the teapot in Nalan Jing's hand. At that very moment, the atmosphere in the backyard was so quiet. Everyone could hear Nalan Zhangqian's heavy breathing. "Is it the 100-year-old ginseng which I have obtained by relentlessly deceiving the second prince of Yiluo Kingdom?" A 100-year-old ginseng was a very rare and special medicine in this country where spirit herbs were rare. Although a 100-year-old ginseng was a regular herb and would never be a spirit herb, it was not easy for the ginseng to grow either since it would take 100 years. Nalan Jing nodded and replied, "Yes. It is that ginseng you talked about." Wham! Nalan Zhangqian was outrageous as he grabbed Nalan Jing's collar and punched him hard. Feng Ruqing was stunned. She was still hesitating on whether to save or let him be. A walking stick was seen hitting Nalan Zhangqian hard on his head when Feng Ruqing was still trying to work out a solution. Nalan Zhangqian's fist stopped midair. Nalan Jing took a step back to avoid Nalan Zhangqian's punch. "Nalan Zhangqian, I will disown you as my son if you dare to lay a finger on Nalan Jing today." The anger in Master's Nalan voice made Nalan Zhangqian freeze there and then. Nalan Zhangqian stroked the back of his head and turned to plead with Master Nalan with his teary eyes. "This son of mine took my ginseng and soaked it in water. Am I not right to punish him for wasting that precious ginseng?" Master Nalan was furious now. He retorted, "It's my idea. It has nothing to do with Jinger." Nalan Zhangqian did not dare to say anything anymore. Nalan Zhangqian missed the time when old Master Nalan was still around. Old Master Nalan would always defend Nalan Zhangqian whenever Master Nalan wanted to hit him. Feng Ruqing stepped forward weakly. "Uncle, don't be angry with Jinger. It was I who asked him to do so." Although it was Feng Ruqing who told Master Nalan about the method in the first place just to help Master Nalan, Feng Ruqing did not want Nalan Jing to endure all the accusations. If not, she would feel guilty. "Princess." Nalan Zhangqian was shocked and furious. He gritted his teeth. What have I done wrong to deserve this? Why do you always have to hurt me? He just knew. Nothing good ever came out of Feng Ruqing's appearance in the general's manner. Chapter 78. The Astonishing Effect of Spirit Wine 3. Why did Jinger and Master Nalan trust her so much? They were ready to give the 100-year-old ginseng up now. He had put in a few days and nights to deceive the second prince of Yi Luo Kingdom to gain the ginseng. Now, they wanted to give it up. Jinger, you don't have to bother about your father. Just go on and use that water to water the spirit herbs. Master Nalan gave a signal to Jinger. Nalan Zanqian's eyes nearly popped out from their sockets. They had given up his ginseng, just to water the spirit herbs. Although the dying herbs were spirit herbs, he knew that human force could not recover spirit herbs. It was like a waste. Master Nalan was always so full of wisdom. Why was he so silly now? Nalan Zanqian's ginseng had gone to waste now. All right. Nalan Jing listened to Master Nalan's order obediently by disregarding Nalan Zanqian's sad eyes. Jinger walked toward the spirit herbs slowly and poured the ginseng water onto the spirit herbs. Ginseng water was good and easily absorbable. It was soon absorbed by the spirit herbs. There was a wilting petal on the peace bloom. But the petal rose slowly when the ginseng water was poured onto it. Nalan Zhangqian rubbed at his eyes in disbelief. In fact, the peace bloom which was on the verge of death was soon coming back to life again. This opportunity at recovering was not high, but it was clearly a good step. This, Nalan Zhangqian pointed at the peace bloom, unable to utter the words. Master Nalan was all excited. His hand stroked the peace bloom gently and his heart fluttered. It lived. It really lived. Grandpa, just keep on watering the peace bloom with the remaining ginseng water every day from now on until the peace bloom is fully recovered. Feng Ruqing sighed in relief. In fact, she doubted the effectiveness of the method given by Fu Qin before. Her uncle would surely kill her if it failed. Thankfully it worked. All is right. There was a long-lost smile on Master Nalan's face. Master Nalan looked at Nalan Zhangqian triumphantly. Kid, now you see that. A 100-year-old ginseng has saved a grade 3 spirit herb. You still think that the ginseng was wasted? Nalan Zhangqian quickly shook his head and said, No, it's not a waste. This is indeed a big gain. You are so wise. Do you still want to hit Jinger? No, I'll not hit him again. How about Jinger? Master Nalan asked with a snort. Nalan Zanqian's lips twisted into a scowl. Who knew Feng Ruqing was really helping General Manor? He was wronged by Feng Ruqing so much before that he could not find himself believing in her again. Princess. He kept quiet for a while, then turned to Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruqing was not angry. She smiled and said, Uncle, I told you just now. You don't have to treat me differently. You can call me Jinger like my grandpa. Jinger. Nalan Zhangqian laughed bitterly. How long had he not used this endearment? He was scolded for so long a few years back when he accidentally called Feng Ruqing that. If he was the general, he might be punished by his niece at that time. How could he be so daring as to do that again? Uncle, I was insensible before. I met my mother when I fainted not long ago. She taught me a lot of things. I've come today just to apologize. Feng Ruqing handed Master Nalan the wine jar in her hands. Grandpa, this is a gift for you. I hope you'll accept it. Chapter 79. The Astonishing Effect of Spirit Wine 4. Nalan Zhangqian spoke before Master Nalan could. My dad was not feeling well and he has quit drinking for a few days now. Drinking would still harm one's body. They prohibited Master Nalan from drinking for the sake of his health. Zhangqian. Master Nalan looked at Nalan Zhangqian in annoyance. Qing'er rarely gives me things. I can just accept it. You just don't want me to feel better, don't you? Nalan Zhangqian stopped short. Dad, I did not mean that. I was just shut up. Master Nalan was quite happy after realizing the change in Fengruching. He did not care it was real or fake. He was contented as long as Fengruching did not infuriate him. Moreover, it was the first time Fengruching gave him a present. Fengruching ignored Nalan Zhangqian and handed the wine jar to Master Nalan. Master Nalan laughed out loud. He opened the wine jar. Qing'er, go and take my wine glass, I want to take a sip of the wine that Qing'er has brought me. The fragrance of the wafted out of the wine jar when Master Nalan opened it. He was stunned as his eyes were momentarily filled with doubt. This wine, why was the smell of the wine so pleasant? Moreover, he could feel spiritual qi in the wine. Qing'er, where did you get this wine? Master Nalan was serious as he looked up at Fengruching. A few days ago, I bought it for you from a street vendor by the roadside when I went for my morning run. I just thought that his wine smelled so good. Why? What's wrong with the wine? Her eyes were so innocent that she seemed to not know the problem with the wine. Master Nalan took a deep breath and seemed serious then. This wine is brewed from spirit herbs. Nalan Zhangqian was shocked as his face turned pale after hearing that. He could smell the special fragrance of the wine at first, but the wine was too strong that it covered the presence of the spiritual qi. He could now feel the existence of spiritual qi in the wine after hearing what Master Nalan had said. A wine brewed from spirit herbs. What a waste. Vendor. Vendor again. Nalan Zhangqian was clearly annoyed. Why can't I meet this kind of street vendor? No one doubted Fengruching. They knew exactly who she was. She would never be able to brew wine. Nalan Zhangqian believed so after what happened to Dyer. What about the vendor? Master Nalan looked at Nalan Zhangqian suspiciously. Nalan Zhangqian was more annoyed than ever. Dad, do you still remember the divine spirit fruit I gave you a few days ago? Dyer bought it at a trading store. What do you think about this vendor? The vendor sold divine spirit fruits like they are regular fruits, and now the vendor sells spirit wine like they are regular wine. But why couldn't he meet this street vendor? Nalan Dyer blinked and moved closer to Fengruching. She did not understand. Why was her father and Master Nalan so shocked? Her father even ordered people to go and search for the hawker store. But all these were given to her by Fengruching as snacks. Qing'er, did you really buy this wine from a street vendor? Master Nalan looked at Fengruching and asked her seriously. Fengruching nodded calmly. Yes, I bought it for you. Do you know the significance of this wine? Master Nalan took a deep breath and said, the value of this wine is more than grade 3 spirit herbs. It was still considered spirit wine even if low-grade spirit herbs were used in brewing the jar of wine. How powerful was it to brew spirit wine from spirit herbs? It was indeed more valuable than grade 3 spirit herbs. Chapter 80. She just could not be left alone. Fengruching was shocked, her expression went blank. It was as if she just got to know the value of the spirit wine. Qing'er, just take the spirit wine back. Master Nalan intended to give the wine jar to Fengruching. Master Nalan forced a smile and said, this present is too precious. I cannot take it. You just bring it back to His Majesty. Master Nalan could not take the present by disregarding his conscience. He would have gladly accepted it if it was regular wine, but now that he knew of Fengruching's ignorance of its value, he just could not make himself to accept it. Enriching looked at the spirit wine, but she did not take it from Master Nalan. "Grandpa, you can just accept this present as it is really a present I bought for you. His Majesty taught me a few days ago that I owe the General Manor a lot. His Majesty would have chosen to give you the spirit wine too if he were to know about this incident." Feng Tianyu was loyal to Empress Nalan. He loved Empress Nalan as well as her family. So, the Nalan family always received special treatment because of Empress Nalan. Feng Tianyu would not have accepted the spirit wine if he knew of this incident. Master Nalan deserved the spirit wine. Master Nalan was stunned. His eyes showed a mixture of emotions. "Chinger, you've finally grown up. Good. That's really good." He had waited for this day for so long. Tears lingered in Master Nalan's eyes. He discreetly wiped them off. His hand that was holding the wine jar trembled just a tiny bit. "Dad. Dad. Be careful. Don't tremble." Suddenly, a strict voice came from the side during this warm and touching moment. Nalan Zhangqian looked at Master Nalan's shaky hands anxiously. He quickly put his hands underneath the wine jar. He was afraid that Master Nalan would break the wine jar. That was a very precious jar of spirit wine. He would be anguished if it was broken. Master Nalan's face froze at that remark. This son had really ruined the touching moment. He was so angry that he nearly threw the wine jar at him. But Master Nalan changed his mind after some consideration. He was unwilling to give up the spirit wine. He sneered and said, "It's not for you even if I didn't break it." Nalan Zhangqian laughed out loud. "Dad, you're unwell. You can't be drinking too much wine. It's also too much wine for you to finish it by yourself. I can enjoy it with you." "Not quite," Master Nalan said sarcastically. "This is not regular wine but spirit wine. This wine can only strengthen my body and heal my illnesses. It'll not harm me. Stop daydreaming here." Nalan Zhangqian's facial expression changed. Master Nalan was really stingy. How could he take the whole jar of spirit wine without sharing it with him? "Jinger." Master Nalan ignored Nalan Zhangqian's sadness that showed on his face. He turned and looked at Jinger, smiled, and said, "You don't have to bother about your dad. Just come and enjoy the wine with me. By the way, don't tell the old people about this. If not, I won't have enough wine to drink." Nalan Zhangqian's face darkened. Master Nalan would not share it with Nalan Zhangqian, but now Nalan Jing could share it with him. Why was Master Nalan being so unfair now? "Grandpa, it is getting late now. I need to return to the Princess Manor. I'll come and visit you again in a few days. Is that all right?" Feng Riching looked at the sky and thought that she should be heading back. Master Nalan was stunned. "Chinger, aren't you staying for dinner?" Feng Riching smiled and said, "No, it's all right. I'm quite busy these few days so I won't be staying for dinner. I'll come next time. Is that okay?" Chapter 81. She just could not be left alone too. There was still an aunt to face even if Feng Ruking's grandfather and uncle had forgiven her. Her aunt swore never to meet her again because of Dyer. She could not stay at the general's manor for long if her aunt had not forgiven her. But she believed that her aunt's prejudice toward her would be lessened if she treated the general's family nicely. Her aunt would then be able to trust her again. "Cousin." Dyer tugged at Feng Ruking's sleeves and looked at Feng Ruching with teary eyes. "Will you come to meet me again?" Feng Ruching patted Dyer's head. "I'll come and meet you after a few days. Is that all right?" "All right." Dyer nodded vigorously and showed her sweet smile. "Dyer will wait for cousin." Feng Ruching lowered her eyes and patted Dyer's head gently. Feng Ruching was determined now. One day, Feng Ruching would help to recover Dyer's face. Feng Ruching would also make sure that Feng Rushuang and her gang would never look down on her again. I won't detain you if you're determined to leave. You are welcome to come to our manor anytime you like, Master Nalan said, sighing. Master Nalan would never be cruel toward Feng Ruching no matter how many times Feng Ruching had disappointed him. Master Nalan would rather choose to believe that Feng Ruching had changed for the better. Yes, Grandpa. Nalan Jing bit his lip and looked at Feng Ruching in confusion. Feng Ruching had really changed. It made Nalan Jing unable to understand Feng Ruching now. Feng Ruching also had changed and she was no longer as vile as before. Dad. Feng Ruching left them under Nalan Jing's accompaniment. Looking at her, Nalan Zhangqian raised his eyes and lowered his voice. Could you tell whether Feng Ruching has really changed for the better or she's just fooling with us again? Master Nalan laughed bitterly. For sure I'll say she's changed for the better because I'm her grandpa and I always hope that she will improve someday. I don't want her being tricked by noble consort Rong again to the point where she no longer recognizes her family. Qing'er was gentle and obedient when she was young. After meeting noble consort Rong, Feng Ruching had treated noble consort Rong like her mother. She had changed and followed suit what noble consort Rong taught her to do. She became impatient every time they wanted to advise her. From then on, she kept her distance from the general's manor and His Majesty could do nothing about it. Dad, did you forget how she had treated you before? And, the scar on Dyer's face, people make mistakes. We should be tolerant of her since we are her elders. If Qing'er was hurt by someone, would you be able to stand there and just ignore it? Nalan Zhangqian was quiet. How could he ignore her? They did not go and visit Feng Ruching when she fainted the other day. But it was not because they no longer cared for her, they were afraid that they would be saddened by the sight of her. Nalan Zhangqian had always mistreated Chancellor Lu during the morning meeting. Jing'er had also never been nice to Lu Yuchen whenever Jing'er met Lu Yuchen. They knew very well that it was Feng Ruching's fault in marrying Lu Yuchen. But, Qing'er was almost killed by the Lu family. They could not bear it. Moreover, Nalan Zhangqian had personally visited the Lu family before the wedding. Nalan Zhangqian had told Chancellor Lu that Nalan Zhangqian could help the Lu family disobey His Majesty's order to marry Feng Ruching. His Majesty would never blame the general manor. They did so for Feng Ruching's sake, not Lu Yuchen. It was Chancellor Lu who had refused Nalan Zhangqian's offer. Chancellor Lu was eager to have Feng Ruching as his daughter-in-law and to sacrifice Lu Yuchen's happiness to help the Lu family gain more power and status. So, Nalan Zhangqian would never be indifferent toward Feng Ruching. He could not do it. In fact, the entire Nalan family could never do it. Chapter 82. She just could not be left alone. 3. But, Feng Ruching had disappointed us so many times that her behavior today made me feel insincere. Dad, I still cannot trust her completely. I'm afraid that what happened today was a trap. It might be her trick to give us something sweet before making us feel all bitter again at the end. Master Nalan could understand Nalan Zhangqian's feelings. He himself was afraid too. But, Master Nalan was still willing to give Feng Ruching a chance even if the condition was such. No family member was ever angry with Feng Ruching. They were just angry that Feng Ruching could not change for the better. Zhangqian, I hope that the general manor could treat Feng Ruching nicely when she has done no harm to the general manor. We should understand that this child was as she was because she has lost her mother at a very young age and she was tricked by noble consort Rong. But, I do believe that people who are from the Nalan family are naturally kind. Dad, I understand. Nalan Zhangqian sighed. I'll not treat her badly. But, I'll never forgive her for the rest of my life no matter what you say if she does anything that disappoints me again this time. This was the last chance. There was only one chance. At the entrance of the general manor, the two Imperial guards were left staring on blankly. They could not believe who the girl was. She was leaving the general manor with Nailan Jing. The general was in a hurry just now when he went over to where the princess was. But, he had ordered the young master to escort the princess out instead of immediately dismissing the princess. Feng Ruqing. Suddenly, a youth beside Feng Ruqing spoke. She stopped walking. Feng Ruqing turned around and looked at Nailan Jing who was standing behind her. Feng Ruqing blinked and asked, "Cousin, is there anything else? I saw the announcement on the wall the other day." The youth's eyes were clear. He gazed at Feng Ruqing. "Have you really divorced him?" Feng Ruqing nodded slightly. She smiled. "Yes. I have given him freedom and set myself free. Lu Yuchen and I will never be together again in this life." "It's good." Nailan Jing was relieved. His eyes were filled with confusion but he still continued asking. "I also heard that you have knocked out some youth the other day and brought him back to your manor. Was it because you fell for the youth?" Feng Ruqing was shocked that her eyes nearly popped out of her eye sockets. After a while, she recovered herself and found her voice again. "Cousin, I'll never do this kind of thing. I'll never be a villain that kidnaps youngsters." Nailan Jing looked at Feng Ruqing but he kept silent. His facial expression hinted that Feng Ruqing was indeed that kind of person. That's a rumor spread by the people. Feng Ruqing was fearful that Nailan Jing would not believe her. She pressed upon Nailan Jing's shoulders and said sincerely, "I'm a kind person. I brought him back because I saw him unconscious on the ground." Nailan Jing bit his lip. He could not relate Feng Ruqing with the word kindness. "Feng Ruqing, you must believe that there will be a man who will love you in this world. You will not be happy if you force someone to love you. I don't want you to harm yourself again no matter who the man is. I don't care if he is Lu Yuchen or that youth." It was as if Feng Ruqing possessed some man forcefully again. Was this what other people thought of her? "Cousin, Lu Yuchen and I were not what you think. Moreover, I'll totally sleep with a man like the state preceptor if I really want to choose a man." Nailan Jing was stunned. He hesitated and asked, "The state preceptor? Why the state preceptor?" "It's because the state preceptor is very handsome and he seems so pure and innocent. Won't you think that it'll be interesting to sleep with that kind of man?" Feng Ruqing smiled. She really missed the state preceptor now when they talked about the state preceptor. Feng Ruqing did not know when the state preceptor would return. Chapter 83, Fu Chen who was wrong. Nailan Jing's face darkened. He felt that what he said just now was useless. "Cousin." Feng Ruqing acted as if she did not notice Nailan Jing's response. She smiled and patted Nailan Jing's shoulder. "The time is late now. I should head back. If you're free, do come to the Prince's Manor and visit me." Feng Ruqing turned and waved goodbye at Nailan Jing when Nailan Jing had just recovered from his stupor. Feng Ruqing slowly disappeared from Nailan Jing's sight. Nailan Jing was stunned. He could not recover himself completely as he stared at Feng Ruqing's disappearing back. The sky was blue. Fu Chen was seen squatting down. His eyes were red and it seemed that he was treated unfairly. After a while, a familiar person appeared in front of him. He grunted and turned away, refusing to look at the person who had appeared out of nowhere. Qing Han stood up and looked at Feng Ruqing fearfully. "Our guardian, you've come." Feng Ruqing patted Qing Han's head then turned to look at Fu Qin. She raised her eyebrows and asked, "Are you angry?" "Humph. Fu Chen's face clearly showed anger. There's a great, three-spirit herb and yet you did not allow me to eat it. I've been hungry for over 1,000 years now. Are you so cruel as to let me stay hungry forever? Feng Ruking's heart softened at the sight of Fu Chen's anguished face. I promise you, I'll improve my strength soon. When I reach true warrior tier, I'll be able to grow great, three-spirit herbs for you. Then, you can eat as many as you want. Really? Fu Chen's eyes sparkled. Are you telling the truth? Feng Ruking's eyes narrowed and smiled. So, do you know of any way that I can improve my strength in a short time? So that you can eat delicious food soon. Fu Chen almost cried. He knew that nothing good would happen when this woman appeared. Indeed, she came and wanted to extort him. I don't. Fu Chen. Feng Ruqing picked up the small fellow whose eyes were swollen now. Her smile became wider. You lied to me before. You told me that the Divine Herbs sect was dissolved. But, now I know that it still exists. Shouldn't you be explaining yourself? My status as your guardian is too unstable. She was too busy these few days to work this incident out with Fu Qin. She could now ask him for a good explanation now that she was free. Fu Chen was stunned as looked at Feng Ruqing. Does the Divine Herbs sect still exist? It was impossible. The sect master was dead. The people of the Divine Herbs sect were almost wiped out. Those people who were left were people with no true strength. Even the true soul of the Divine Herbs sect was transferred into this medium. Divine Herbs sect. How could it still exist? Why would I lie to you? Feng Ruking's eyes narrowed again. This technique of growing spirit herbs originated from the Divine Herbs sect. No one knew about it even if you were at a high position in Divine Herbs sect. Now that you have imparted this knowledge to me, it is like pushing me into a fire pit. But, Fu Chen lowered his head in shame. I don't know why there's still a Divine Herbs sect in this world. That Divine Herbs sect must be fake. Feng Ruqing smiled brightly and looked down at Fu Chen. I don't care whether it's real or fake. That Divine Herbs sect does have the ability to grow spirit herbs. Won't you show me how to improve my strength so that I am strong enough to tackle this Divine Herbs sect? Fu Chen soon lost the desire to talk. He now knew that Feng Ruqing had come today just to extort him. Chapter 84, Ordinary Flowers and Plants. But I have given you all my precious collection. I really have nothing left to give you now. Fu Chen bit his lip. He looked so pitiful. So, I can't really help you even if I wanted to. Feng Ruqing hesitated for a moment before she sighed. This is indeed too hard for you. But, never mind. I'm born with the fear of death. I'll not waste my life that I have a chance to live this life again. It's fine if I am not your guardian. Fu Chen was shocked. We're humans, this shameless. I'm left with the last sword. Fu Chen flicked his finger and a long black sword appeared in his hand. He growled, You wicked and cruel woman. Now you have tricked me into giving you my last food. That sword was black like iron and it was somehow rusted. But the dragon mark on the sword was still clear and it looked so real that it looked like it might come out of the sword any time now. Feng Ruking's face darkened. She looked at Fu Chen doubtfully. Don't tell me that you have just simply whipped out a normal sword for me. Fu Chen was so angry that he stomped his feet. His face was red with anger. He snarled, How dare you doubt me? Am I that kind of person who would lie? This sword is so powerful that I cannot devour it now. In fact, I want to keep it so that I can eat it later, but now that you have tricked me into giving this to you. Was this woman a demon? She had fooled him into giving up his food and now she doubted him too. How outrageous. Feng Ruqing realized that Fu Chen was not lying. She received the sword with a smile. You're really my good son. I'll definitely take you with me to explore this land when I have gained true strength in the future. Fu Chen was quiet. This son was treated too unfairly. Why aren't you going for training? Fu Chen grunted. He did not want to look at this woman anymore. He really had nothing now. Qin Han might be taken away too if this woman stayed. Brother Fu Chen, brother. Qin Han tugged at Fu Chen's sleeves and whispered, you better be careful with your words. Don't make her angry. We can still gossip about her after she has left. Feng Ruqing's face darkened. However, Feng Ruqing had heard everything. But Feng Ruqing was in a good mood after receiving the sword. So, she chose not to argue with these two kids. She patted the hilt, smiled, and said, the two of you can just play around. You can call me next time if you miss me. I'll come and accompany you. Fu Chen kept quiet. Miss her? Never. He, Fu Chen, would never miss her even if he died here because of hunger. Qin Han's temper is better. Feng Ruqing ignored Fu Chen when she found that Fu Chen was ignoring her. She turned and looked at Qin Han. She stroked Qin Han's head. Qin Han, you must remember to call me if you miss me. I'll definitely come. Qin Han was stunned. She said fearfully, can I not miss you? Feng Ruqing's face darkened even more. Was she this unwelcomed by these two fellows? And they could talk about this in private. Why did they bring it up in front of Feng Ruqing? Ahem. Feng Ruqing coughed twice to ease the awkwardness. Then, I'll come and meet you if I miss you. Why did Chainer decide to stay after I listened to you and released some spiritual qi? Fu Chen looked up at Feng Ruqing, bit his lip and said, your spiritual qi is special. Now that you have the habit of growing spirit herbs, your presence is accompanied by the spirit of the spirit herbs. I only added something to your spiritual qi to ease Qin Chen's pain. Of course he would stay. Chapter 85 Ordinary Flowers and Plants 2, I see. Feng Ruqing's eyes narrowed. She should be able to guess that Fu Chen was behind all of this. Fu Chen could influence the world outside, even in this medium. How strong was he before? This son was adopted for good. That youth, Fu Chen was silent for a while and said, he is special. But, you won't understand what I say now. You just train him nicely, and one day, he will become your strong combat companion. Feng Ruqing raised her eyes and pondered for a while. Suddenly, she raised her head and looked up at the clear blue sky. It seemed that she could see through the blue sky and right at the youth's smile. I really don't care whether he's a genius or a disabled. I'll protect him for the rest of his life. I will help him and let him stay. It's not because of his specialty. It's because he looks so much like Cheer. She would not care even if he was disabled. She could still protect him and take care of him in this life. The reason that she saved him was never because of his specialty, and it never was for the sake of training him to become her combat companion. It was because Chainer and Cheer looked so much alike. Fu Chen was stunned. He looked at Feng Ruqing blankly without a word. This demon. There were also times when she would not ask for anything in return. Why did she treat them differently? Fu Chen, Qin Han. Feng Ruqing lowered her eyes, stroked their heads, and said, that great, three-spirit herb belongs to my grandpa. I cannot give that to you. But you must trust me. You'll not be hungry for long. Feng Ruqing would work hard to improve her strength even if it was for Fu Chen and Qin Han's sake. She could only grow grade 3 spirit herbs when she had had enough strength. I trust you. Qin Han smiled rather shyly. I never get in touch with human beings. But I do know that humans' guardians won't lie to their sons. You are our guardian. You won't lie to us. Feng Ruqing was surprised. She solemnly squeezed Qin Han's shoulders with her hands. Qin Han, you must remember that you're a girl. You're not a son. You're a daughter. Daughter? Qin Han was confused. She looked at Feng Ruqing blankly. But Fu Chen brother is your son. I'm the same species as Fu Chen. Why is it different? Feng Ruqing was nervous now. Fu Chen, what have you been teaching her all this while? She is not young anymore. There should be a difference in gender and she's a normal girl. Why did you let her treat herself like a boy? How is she the same species as you? Fu Chen's face darkened. He pulled Qin Han aside. Qin Han, let me tell you. Don't ever use the word species to describe both of us again. The word species is used to describe ordinary flowers and plants. How could these things be compared to us? All right. Qin Han nodded without fully understanding what she had just heard. Fu Chen continued solemnly, moreover, have you forgotten how this wicked woman has just tricked our last possession from us? Why would you say that she would not lie to us? Are you stupid? That was not a trick. Brother Fu Chen willingly gave it to her. Feng Ruqing's eyes narrowed as she listened to their childlike voice. It looked like she had received some horrible news. You can just continue your discussions. I'll go back and train. Feng Ruqing composed herself. She smiled and waved goodbye to Fu Chen and Qin Han. Now, Fu Chen was reluctant to tell Qin Han about her true identity. But, one day, Qin Han would completely possess Fu Chen. Feng Ruqing lay down on her bed after returning from the medium. She stretched her arms and got up from her bed. There's still half a month left before the state preceptor returns. I need to train harder. She did not let her guard down just for the sake of sleeping with the state preceptor. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.